With the Reconquista tide of unstoppable advancement sweeping over the Iberian Peninsula, Al-Andalus hung precariously by a thread for the one-by-one loss of all of the great cities of the land. One alone, the Kingdom of Granada remained as the stronghold of resilience. In this broken geography, Granada was the pearl of culture, a glowing ember of splendor that had been Al-Andalus but was also a fortress. Its rulers, the Nasrids, had to negotiate the shifting sands of alliances and conflicts to survive this last stand of Muslim independence amidst the closing in of the Christian kingdoms. How long would it withstand political pressures and the threat of its powerful military? Granada was a bastion of resistance, but above all, it was the birthplace of artistic and architectural feats that would transcend time. Witness this journey through the story of the Nasrid dynasty, one of resistance, brilliance, and cultural heritage born in the twilight of inevitable decay. The Nasrid dynasty was founded in 1238 by Muhammad I ibn al-Ahmar in the ruins of Muslim rule in Iberia. As Al-Andalus disintegrated, Muhammad I skillfully carved out Granada as a haven for Muslims and transformed it into a thriving kingdom. This would become strategic diplomacy as the means of survival for Granada. Muhammad I established an alliance with the Christian powers like Ferdinand III of Castile for political autonomy, with the give and take, providing tributes. These may be controversial, but they brought in the chance to keep off larger threats from approaching Granada, which meant extra time to reinforce the defenses and centralize resources. Internally, the Nasrids took a pragmatic approach to governance, focusing on strong military organization and efficient administration. Their success in maintaining the delicate relationship between diplomacy and strength ensured their survival, but also paved the way for Granada's transformation into a cultural and architectural masterpiece, shining so brightly on the horizon of the darkening Muslim rule in Iberia. Under the Nasrid dynasty, Granada was to become a cultural and intellectual center that would preserve the legacy of Al-Andalus, even as its borders shrank. Art, literature, and philosophy received heavy investments under the Nasrids, where creativity and scholarship were encouraged. The artisans of Granada reached peaks and new heights in intricate tilework, calligraphy, and decoration through stucco, demonstrating its epitome in the Alhambra as the crowning architectural achievement of the kingdom. This ended up being the hallmark of Nasrid cultural genius, where Islamic art is used in an intricate manner, coupled with great designs. People like writers and poet Ibn al-Khatib put down some words exclaiming at the majesty of Granada. While philosophers wallow in their interpretations of classic writings, to be able to hold on to and make the old intellectual traditions go on, it was the very vivacious trade networks that connected the kingdom to the Mediterranean, North Africa, and even parts of Europe that boosted the economy of Granada. Amidst political uncertainty, Granada was a testament to the spirit of Al-Andalus that endured. The ultimate achievement in Nasrid artistic and architectural creativity stands on the Sabika Hill over Granada's majestic skyline. Initially conceived as both a fortress and a palace, Muhammad I ibn al-Ahmar, founder of the Nasrid dynasty, started building it in the late 13th century. He continued to develop it over the next 2 centuries. Successive rulers expanded and perfected it to render Alhambra a breathtaking masterpiece that represented the grandeur of Islamic Iberia. The Alhambra was envisioned as a symbol of Nasrid's power and resilience during a time when the Muslim world in Iberia was under siege. It was designed not just as a military stronghold, but also as a center of governance and a sanctuary of artistic expression. The Nasrids wanted to have a space that reflected their identity, blending practicality with unparalleled beauty to reinforce their legitimacy as rulers and their commitment to Islamic culture. The architecture of the Alhambra is a harmonious blend of function and art. Its layout, with a series of palaces, gardens and courtyards, reflects careful planning and intricate craftsmanship. The fountain, supported by 12 intricately carved marble lions, is a feature of the court and an outstanding example of the architectural ingenuity of the Islamic style. The hydraulic system to maintain water flow through fountains and channels was highly developed for the time. Very beautiful interplays of light and space in geometric patterns, Arabic calligraphy and muqarnas are provided for the Hall of the Ambassadors and the Hall of the Two Sisters. Earthy tones combined with elaborate mosaics bring an otherworldly ambience, earthy and divine, to beauty. Besides the beauty of Alhambra's architecture, this complex is also a treasure trove of Nasrid art. On the walls and ceilings of Alhambra are Arabic inscriptions of many verses of the Quran and poetic appreciations of the dynasty. In these inscriptions lies not only beauty, but also an expression of the Nasrids' commitment to their religion and intellectual inheritance. Light and shadow meant deliberately on the Alhambra, while giving different rooms alternating moods across the daylight changes. The Alhambra was more than just a palace. It was an expression of survival and cultural pride. In the face of the looming Christian Reconquista, Alhambra stood as the bastion of Islamic artistry and innovation, reminding the Nasrids of their legacy in Al-Andalus, even as they became increasingly isolated. Alhambra is today a shrine to the summits of the Iberian Islamic civilization and records millions of viewers ascribing to its timelessness. Its legacy is to remain steadfast as the monument of cultural resilience and a bridge between past and present, embodying the spirit of that golden age and never letting itself fade away. With the Christian Reconquista continuing to press relentlessly across Iberia, the Nasrid Kingdom of Granada stood as the last stronghold of Islamic rule. From its very beginning in 1238 until it finally capitulated in 1492, Granada evolved into a sanctuary of cultural preservation and political resistance, exemplifying the spirit of Al-Andalus even during its last years of life. The haven aspect of Granada played a key role during this period of unrest. After other Muslim states had fallen to the conquests of Christians, Granada became an open haven for scholars, artists, architects, and politicians. Their coming brought the knowledge, creativity, and traditions of these refugees that made the cultural and intellectual aspects of the kingdom more vibrant. This brought artists, writers, and scientists into keeping the legacies of Al-Andalus operational despite these effects. Merchants and craftsmen also thronged to Granada, whose economy further transformed and established into a center place for trade culture. The intake of talent combined with expertise translated it into a radiating center of Islamic civilization, even with its territories on the decline to stretches of resources to its last reserves. Granada lived for over 2 centuries, and that was not an accident, but it resulted from intelligent defensive and diplomatic moves. The Nasrids built mighty fortifications. One of these is the well-known Alhambra Palace and military stronghold, all in one. The kingdom had a strategic position that surrounded mountains and rivers, thus protecting the attacking forces. The Nasrids also employed advanced military tactics to repel attacks, relying on swift cavalry units and fortified outposts to disrupt enemy movements. Their knowledge of the terrain allowed them to wage effective guerrilla-style warfare, delaying the progress of Christian armies. Amazing political acumen is noticed among the Nasrid leaders of Granada, as they knew how to navigate these webs of alliances and rivalries. The Nasrids would frequently make diplomatic manipulation with the Christian kingdoms by giving them tributes and temporary truces to have a little time on their hands, to be free and independent. This very pragmatic consideration is the fact that the Nasrids survived during a time when other Muslim lands began to break the tide of conquest, as initially planned. In that sense, Granada continued to be a symbol of resistance against that sea of huge odds, at least for all Muslim Iberia. 200 years passed as Granada kept its feeling of cultural existence and sovereignty, reason for people's pride in their cause and determination. Although Granada was besieged and earmarked for eventual decline, it made sure that the last redoubt of Al-Andalus ensured that the cultural legacy of Islam did not go into the dustbin of history. Although the Nasrid dynasty was the last page of Muslim rule in Iberia, it was one of those dynasties that left an unforgettable legacy long after its political demise. Contributions to culture, science, and diplomacy ensured that the heart of Al-Andalus remained preserved and, in a way, became a link between the Islamic and European worlds. In their perilous situation, the Nasrids flourished as heirs to the lavish brainpower and aesthetics of Al-Andalus. The scholars, poets, and scientists, with a Christian horde threatening Granada from the north, saw a refuge in that kingdom. From that refuge, they were able to carry on and make their contribution toward adding wisdom and culture to the land. The most tangible expression of the Nasrid legacy and the most powerful epitome of artistic and architectural ingenuity that Islamic Iberia ever witnessed, the Alhambra represents, beyond being a mere aesthetic expression, a reflection of the intellectual ideals of its time, with geometry, calligraphy, and elements of nature fused into a harmonious whole. Other architectural successes, like mosques, madrasas, and public works, indicate that the Nasrids indeed attempted to make functionality join with beauty, and both civilizations, Muslim and European, will leave a mark. The Nasrids were the backbone of the middle level of contact between the Islamic and Christian cultures. Given their relations with their immediate kingships and with North African leaders, they provided rich concepts of sharing, exchange, and innovation. Their trade and debate exchange with those developed innovations to European civilization regarding irrigation agriculture, cloth-making, and science in support of the Renaissance. The Nasrid dynasty came to an end with the conquest of Granada in 1492, but its cultural and scientific legacies continued to influence history. Scholars and artists have been inspired for generations by the legacy of Al-Andalus, preserved and propagated by the Nasrids. In many ways, the Nasrids ensured that the spirit of Al-Andalus lived on, shaping the intellectual and cultural fabric of the Mediterranean and beyond. Even today, what survives of those achievements reminds us of a moment when Granada was not only a kingdom, but an example of survival, creativity, and the love of knowledge. Granada represented for centuries that beacon of resilience, an unwavering flame of an empire that once was great and refused to go out. It was the last stand of Al-Andalus, but so much more. It was an oasis of light where creativity bloomed, intellect grew, and culture, at the risk of facing the challenges of a chaotic world, blossomed. The beauty of Alhambra, the echoes of scholars seeking to learn, and the living legacy have been held within the minds of the world. Yet the biggest fires have to resist hurricane winds of change. Was it the fault of Granada which changed its route, or was its downfall already written in the history books long before the final hours? How much ambition, how much betrayal, and how much will play out in the last minutes of the Nasrid kingdom? It's almost time to close the doors on Al-Andalus and the era it has helped form in civilizations. It's going to be a dramatic fall for Granada, a moment that will change history forever.